It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way that things will really go with Sandra. And some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but someday we'll realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend of Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra.
The Economics and Statistics Office, ESO, is currently conducting the annual business surveys until June 12. The surveys collect information to answer questions like, how did the economy perform in 2025? In 2025, how much did foreign companies invest in the Cayman Islands? The surveys include all relevant entities that produce goods and services in the Cayman Islands. The surveys are confidential under the Statistics Act and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the ESO. Remember, better data, better decisions, better business. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 244-4676 or 244-4600. The Economics and Statistics Office, ESO, is currently conducting the annual business surveys until June 12. The surveys collect information to answer questions like, how did the economy perform in 2025? In 2025, how much did foreign companies invest in the Cayman Islands? The surveys include all relevant entities that produce goods and services in the Cayman Islands. The surveys are confidential under the Statistics Act and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the ESO. Remember, better data, better decisions, better business. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 244-4676 or 244-4600.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Cayman. Happy Thursday. Wow. Friday part one it is. Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. Happy Thursday. How's everybody doing this Thursday morning? Had someone yesterday messaging me saying, hey, did you get to the Canova Watson discussion? I'm like, yep, we had that day before yesterday. This is like a speed dialing week. You got to keep up. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing, honey child? All right. So yesterday's show, we were trying to have a look at the ESO employment labor survey. This is I think it's annually that they do these labor surveys. They're pretty significant in that they look at labor trends. And so from that, we can glean a lot of information in terms of the population, work permit numbers, and the labor force survey report. This was for the fall of 2025. Basically said that we were a little bit over 9,000 persons. Now, the more we thought about that during yesterday's program, I think it became obvious to all of us that we're probably at least at 100,000, if not more. Because think about it from multiple angles here. That labor survey, at least 6 months ago, right? We're getting the final report now, but that data is already probably 6 months out. And so knowing that nugget of information, as well as the continued trajectory of the upward trend in work permits, downward trend in Cayman births, I think it's obvious that those numbers would have changed in real time. So in real time right now, today is May the 14th, 2026. We're either very, very close to 100,000 or we've already hit that 100,000 mark and we've surpassed it, in fact. So those are the realities with which we are examining our lives here in the Cayman Islands. So there's a couple things that flow from that, right? We discussed yesterday briefly how Caymanians feel marginalized in their own country because we are, in fact, the minority. There's no, that's a factual statement, right? It's a fact that we're the minority in our own country. And that will always, I don't care how you slice it, that will always make people feel a particular way. And so perhaps to some extent we can't help how we feel about that. What we do about it from a policy perspective, immigration policy, economic policies to help Caymanians, I think that at the end of the day, that's probably where there's some significant discussions to be had. So the government has, inherited this problem. And it's not something, I want to be clear, like somebody said yesterday, well, we have the PPM government to thank for that. Well, perhaps because they were in power for the past 15 plus, closer to 20 years in some form or another. They kept, having these PPM-led coalition governments. So yes, they should take, if there's blame to be had, I suppose they should take some degree of the blame. But I also think that we need to go even beyond the progressives to see that these numbers just haven't jumped overnight. In fact, it was McKeever Bush who was suggesting back in the day that we needed 100,000 people to, make this country viable, is what he thought in his opinion. He publicly made those statements. So that is not something that we're making up. But in terms of policy, what he did that impacted all of our lives was when he decided to give out the mass status grants, which was a huge number of individuals who were then being given Cayman status. Some of them did not even earn it, to be quite frank and honest. There was no proper vetting. And we now have seen all these years later that the rooster has come to, the rooster has come to crow, in that some of those decisions were so incredibly poor that we got people like the likes of Laval, for example, prancing around in the streets of Cayman, such an embarrassment to everyone but herself, evidently. and lots of undesirable people, some straight up criminals. And so it was not a good position that he placed us in. And a lot of those individuals, you become Caymanian overnight. There was no loyalty built in. They didn't earn it. They didn't work for it. They don't care. They were very, very selfish individuals. They're all about just lining their own pockets, right? So that impacted a lot. That impacted, a lot of these people that we see now in businesses who are running fraudulent businesses and taking advantage of their own people when it comes to even work permits and working them and not paying them, and working them and not, paying pension and health insurance and all these sorts of things. A lot of those individuals, if you trace back when they became Caymanians and how they got it, you'll see that, in fact, they didn't go through any of the, if I can put in quotations, proper channels to be able to do so. Now, at the time, it's not that that was unlawful. Cabinet had the right to give those, and they certainly exercised that right. But I think we could all argue that it was very, very poor judgment for them to do so. And so, the fallout is people who didn't even demonstrate that they were willing to play by the rules of our society, being able to immediately get access to being a Caymanian. Quite shocking, right? And so that was, that's a large part of the contributing. It's kind of like compound interest. I was listening again this morning to some of as I was getting ready, my financial podcasts about the importance of saving in life. And the longer you save, the more money that you're going to be in a position to have at retirement, just on the basis of simple compounding. And so if we apply the principle of compounding to other things, for example, just willy-nilly giving thousands of people Cayman status at one time, kaboom! Yeah, honey child, that is not something that benefited the people of the Cayman Islands at all. So blame can be attributed to numerous people. It can be passed around. And one thing I know for sure is when the horse is out of the barn, well, as they say, it is difficult, if not impossible, to bring the horse back in. Depends on the horse, obviously. Certainly depends on the horse. So here we are now. We got our 100,000 population. I don't know what McKeever's end goal was when he made that statement and why he thought that was such a great idea. I know that Mr. Bush relied heavily on the expat community, especially the Jamaican community, to vote for him. And, probably for a lot of years, Jamaicans that got status through him and through his cabinet, I'm sure were very, very grateful for that. And so their loyalties remained with him throughout. Now, here's the thing. If you're a Jamaican Caymanian now listening to this program, you have status. At some point, you have to realize, honey child, that you're now in the same boat as the rest of us, except that I guess you have an option to go back to Jamaica if you wish. But most Jamaicans will tell you that that's not, other than going back for a short visit, they might have a second home there still, visit family and so on. Going back long term to live in Jamaica is not necessarily a sustainable position for them. Someone sent me something yesterday. I can't remember where I saw it. I think somebody sent it to me, where it said something like half of all Jamaicans in Jamaica are trying to get out of their country. I think I saw that on Facebook. There was an article that someone posted, which said that like 50% of all Jamaicans are trying to leave their own country. Well, no surprise there. I mean, the Jamaican diaspora around the world sends a lot of money home. They, contribute quite significantly to, let me just do one thing here. They contribute quite significantly to the country being able to survive, quite frankly, by the injection of money that is sent home. So for them, the holy grail is leaving home and going elsewhere and actually working to then support family back home and so on. So, but you know, the sensible ones realize that you can't come to Cayman, get status, destroy this country. Hold on one second here. Destroy this country, and then think that the things that you have built here are not going to be negatively impacted if you're not making a positive contribution. I think the issue is most people are so self-serving that they do not recognize the importance of contributing and continuing to contribute in a positive way in a country that they claim that they help build. And this is the quagmire, if you will, is that, you know, most of them didn't help build jack, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, they seem to have that idea in their head. And then they think, you know, okay, I've got my status now. I can break the law. I can take out illegal work permits. I can take advantage of my own Jamaicans by doing so. And all of these things add to illegalities in their countries, adds additional strife in the country. And they don't think, wow, I should be working with Caymanians now that I'm a quote unquote Caymanian. I should be working with Caymanians to make this a more harmonious community and making sure that I'm a good citizen. Now, this doesn't apply to every single Jamaican who's gotten status. If it's making you feel a way this morning, chances are it applies to you. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Auntie Sandy.
Morning.
How's it going?
Morning. Good. How are you?
You were late this morning. You were arguing with the fake Patrick Bordno.
No, boy, the mornings be going by so quick. I was there in the shower trying to get ready and listening to my podcast. And next thing I know, it was 7:32. I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of the shower.
That's why you don't have a camera on, because you're not, did you hear yet? I'm on to you, woman. I'm on to you.
OMG. Clearly. Mm-hmm.
Reason why I called in, great opening sort of monologue or discussion, but I just wanted to frame up the discussion and add some context. Those persons that were status recipients via the cabinet grants, we call it the status lottery. It's important to note that as much as McKeever was the leader of the country and of the party at the time, it goes without saying that everybody that was a politician, a political financier, a political player, operative, and influence within both groups, UDP and PPM, they all had a list and they all basically plucked names out the sky. You had people that
just stick a pin. PPM did not exist at that time, but go on.
Okay,
PPM came after as a result of that.
The founders of the said PPM had a list. Persons that were elected under the PPM banner, once they came together, had a list. They would proudly tell you that they contributed names and so on and so forth. So let's not just blame or attribute the blame to one individual or one political party, because if you were elected at the time, you had a list. If you were a donor to a party and a significant player in the political realm or whatever, you were asked to contribute names and provided your own list, so on and so forth. So McKeever Bush and I are not any friends, but the man has done some good things for the country and fought the fights that a lot of people would not in years gone by. Now, you know, his career is what it is, and he was voted out of office, but his contributions, I don't think we can ignore if we're truly being objective. And I'm trying to be objective by saying McKeever Bush isn't the only person that put us on the path to 100,000 people, because some of the people that got the status via cabinet, they were some of the best, most deserving people that had given their time, their life, and had spent the majority of their time here in Cayman. And they've truly integrated. Their children are integrated. Their children are Caymanian. They act, behave, walk, talk, and live as Caymanians. But of course, you also have a group of people that are just, here for their own good, and they aren't interested in integration, and they aren't interested in building a country together. It's about status guarantees me the rights of a Caymanian, but I don't consider myself Caymanian. It's only the immigration status that I hold. So I wanted to start off by saying that, and it's important that we acknowledge that it wasn't just one person, because McKeever gets a lot of blame for everything, but he's had people that have influenced him, advised him, and have taken advantage of his leadership persona whilst they were doing all sorts of skullduggery. And he can be a player in Cayman politics where he influences the current crop of politicians as well. So I think in being fair and objective, that's how I wanted to start off the conversation. But also the other point that I wanted to make was wherever we are or wherever we find ourselves now in 2026, every Caymanian has an opportunity to make a conscious decision about the type of Cayman that we want to build. And by doing so, it isn't enough to say I'm Caymanian. There's certain characteristics that we have. We are community minded. I feel bad that we are more divided today than ever before, because a lot of people that are fortunate enough to receive permanent residency and status, they don't have any sort of link, association, or understanding of what it is to be Caymanian, or actually know any Caymanians, or have ever been to a home of a Caymanian, or had any Caymanians in their homes, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, we got to look at this differently. And, you know, the current administration are going through what their version of immigration reform looks like, but it has to become more difficult for persons to get permanent residency and Caymanian status in the Cayman Islands, because unless you can demonstrate that you really understand the essence of what it is to be Caymanian and to build a country together, regardless of your financial status or where you work or what you look like or what color you are or where you came from, we're really just building separate villages of people that live in a particular place because they have means or they're a particular color, class, whatever. And we don't want that, because in Cayman, the 25,000, 30,000 of us that are actually Caymanian, we're almost like the indigenous, and I'm not saying that we are, but we're almost like that minority of Native American Indians or the Native people in Canada. And those people are given particular rights and acknowledged as being, First Nation or whatever. And I'm not saying that we have Indians or First Nation people here in Cayman. I'm drawing a corollary to the fact that there are so few of us that Caymanians should be given rights, should be given preferential treatment in the same way that persons from the Channel Islands of Guernsey, Jersey, Isle of Wight, they are given preferential status and looked after by their people, because that is their country, that is their land. I don't see why we can't use examples that exist everywhere in the world and say, okay, being Caymanian truly matters. But more importantly, being Caymanian of multi-generational, where people can go back to the 1920s, to the early 1900s. We are rare animals, and I don't think that we should be made to feel bad about being unique and multi-generational. And some of us have been here 7 generations, some of us have been here 13 generations, so on and so forth. I think if you're proud of who you are and you're proud of your lineage, you have to acknowledge that we are special, because we are rare and we are in our own country. We didn't come here as economic migrants. We are not economic migrants. We allow people to come here, and they pretend, a lot of them, to care about us, and they'll walk the dog, and they'll, do a raffle, or they'll join a service club. But how many of them know Caymanian people, have had Caymanian people in their house, go to Caymanian people's houses, have truly integrated and say, I can link 25, 30 multi-generational Caymanians of all color, shape, and size as my friend? And until we get to the stage where, if I have to, I'm going to use Marlon as an example because it's not contentious. If Marlon Hill was applying for status, and I know he has it, but if he was applying for status, I think the system should be changed where you have to interview the referees of that individual who are claiming that Marlon Hill, for example, is a person of good character and upstanding and so on and so forth, because anybody can write a reference. I know people that have had references that have been written and then an electronic signature has been used and they don't know what was in the letter. You see what I'm saying? So unless we make this thing more robust, whereby we truly understand or investigate who these people are, and it isn't just about your bank balance, and it isn't about whether you go to church, and it isn't about whether you walk the dog. It's about, have you truly integrated in the fabric of Cayman society with Caymanian people who are proud to say this person deserves the right to call themselves Caymanian, because it is too easy to become Caymanian in 2026. We have given this country away by making it easy for people that don't give quehe or two tiddlywinks about us, PR and status, and then they turn around and they build their own communities to the exclusion of Caymanians. And there are instances where the level of discrimination and racism towards Caymanians is real, is blatant, and it goes unchecked because we don't seem to have enough unity within the Caymanian community to say enough is enough. Again, I'm going to use a great example. The fact that we don't know whether Larry gets to stay or go, given what crazy Larry and Linda did, that's a prime example of you take them two, you make an example of them, and everybody else falls in line and figures out in Cayman they don't play that game. Let me do what I need to do. Let me be genuine and sincere if I really want to make this my home. Because those people do not deserve the privilege to stay here, much less the privilege of getting permanent residency or Caymanian status. And ultimately, the last point I will make is the people that decide what the rules are and who gets to stay and who gets to go, it's us, the Caymanian people, because there's no expatriate on a board making any decision. All right. There's no expatriate in the immigration department that heads it up or that is leading it that effectively is making a decision. We do not have any expatriates elected to the House that are making decisions and changing the laws and policies. There is no expatriate that is leading the civil service right now. All of the decisions that are being made that are important for us Caymanian people are being made by our Caymanians, and we have to acknowledge that. And when we find those that are sellouts, frauds, disingenuous, and not doing their job, there needs to be consequences for that. Because if we can't build a better Cayman for all Caymanians, and I mean we deserve everything that we get because there are so few of us, what is all of this for? America looks out for Americans. Canadians look out for Canadians. Sorry, Canada looks out for Canadians. The English do the same, but we import people here. And because they have a skill set, they live in their own little bubble. They don't have no interaction with Caymanians, but because they've been here 7, 9, 10, 12 years, they end up getting status and they don't know nothing about Cayman and no Caymanian people, and they legitimately dislike and loathe us. We are the problem. We need to change the rules, but we need to work together to force the system to hear us.
How do you force people? Let me ask you a question then.
Sandra, I'm going to say this. You are the ultimate lightning rod. You do things that force people to act. You're the only person that can call the deputy governor, the commissioner of police, anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere.
No, but let's talk about let's talk about something that you just said, right? Which comes down to integration. Okay, that's the word. And we strongly believe that people who come to Cayman should be integrating with us. Okay, and we put that responsibility on their shoulders. How does an expat who comes to the Cayman Islands integrate into Caymanian society? So someone just comes off of the BA flight this afternoon, right? How do they find a Johan Moxham to integrate with? What are you doing? Where do you go? Where do you hang out? Or you just work in home in your own little bubble? How are they going to find you? How are they going to integrate? Where do they go? Because they certainly can't be going to Cayman Prep. They can't be going to just their schools, CIS, or, you know, the level of integration at that level is going to be very, very limited, because those are generally, right? Those are environments where, again, those are going to be expat environments where it's people like them or the expat community. So where do they go to find the last of the Mohicans?
Sandra, your child goes to CIS, my kid goes to prep, so on and so forth. I think the foundation is community activities, sports, especially with children, because children don't understand color, race, and racism. They're taught that by what we say, what we do, and they go from there. Like, somebody has to teach your child to not like a Canadian, don't like a Frenchman, don't like a South African, don't like a this, don't like a Caymanian, don't like a Jamaican, so on and so forth. So I think we have to understand that it starts with our kids, because they don't see and they're not naturally programmed to have that level of discrimination the way that adults look at the world with a particular view. But I think sports, I think just having a foundational level of respect for the other human being. If you come here and you can't be respectful of somebody, or if we as Caymanians just can't be respectful of somebody else in the basic manners and respect game, that's where it starts, because negative energy meets negative energy. If I see something going on and that person I think is behaving untowards, I'll just look at them and I go, bro, you wouldn't do that at home and get away with it. And that's not me being rude. That's me stating a fact. But a lot of people have come here and they won the lotto by being in Cayman because they've got an opportunity to make more money here than they've ever made anywhere or dreamt of making anywhere else in life. And so in the workplace, with kids, in the school, in the community, everybody, I think, I'm going to give you an example of what gets my back up. I love turtle. I love all kinds of food.
Mm.
But when somebody comes here, why do you eat turtle? Oh my God, that's disgusting. I never asked you, Mary, if you needed to eat turtle. You just need to respect the fact that that's what we do. That's what we've been always doing. And you don't need to like it, but you need to shut the F up about it, because I'm not here to be, your sort of telling you how to be Caymanian, but I can tell you what you can't do to Caymanians. You can't insult us. You can't make fun of our customs, our culture, our culinary sort of favorites, and then think that that's going to go well. Because the other thing that happens is somebody shows up here, they've been here 3 months, and they can tell you everything bad about a Caymanian, but they don't ever know anything about a Caymanian. And the reverse is the same.
I think that's because they're largely having those conversations within their own expat communities.
No, I hear you. But what I'm saying is, in the workplace, and I know everybody needs to defend their money, defend their job, and look after their ability to provide for their family. But if you are a Caymanian in a workplace and Sandra works with us and they've decided that Sandra is the devil, just know, if you don't try to bring a objective, logical contribution to that discussion, it's Sandra today and tomorrow it's you, because they are going to look out for theirs. Why can't we look out for ours? And by looking out, I'm just saying, be objective, strengthen numbers. And when you see some level of injustice or something that is you're uncomfortable with, have the courage to stand up. I'm going to give you an example. Well, Johan should say this and Johan should say that, and Sandra should say this and Sandra should say that. So hold on, everybody else lost their tongue. Oh, everybody else decided that they don't have the courage, or they got more to lose than me and you. We all have something to lose, but this is home. And as long as I'm at home, and as long as I got a brain and I'm able to do stuff, nobody's going to take advantage of me and mine. And I'm not going to stand by and let them take advantage of you, because today, if I let them do that to you, tomorrow it's me, and then it's Gigi, and then it's Nico, and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? Like, we need to have more than whining and complaining. We need to have a mentality whereby the same way that they can coalesce together and decide we're going to have our tribe and we're going to look out for each other, whether it be promotions, whether it be parties, whether it be whatever it is, they have a sense of togetherness that Caymanians are afraid to exercise. And why should you be afraid of exercising pro-Caymanian beliefs in the Cayman Islands where you're at home?
All right, leave me there. You said a mouthful this morning. Food for thought, 936-2626. What I would really like to hear this morning is, I actually want to hear from someone in the expat community. So if you're here, you're not a Caymanian, you are here on, I don't know, PR, work permit, whatever. Tell me what you've done to integrate, if anything, into the Caymanian community. And if you haven't done anything to integrate, why is that? Because I think this is actually a bit of a two-way street, right? So I think that there are opportunities on both sides for us to extend the olive branch, if you will. Sometimes Caymanians are very, very cliquish, not for nothing, but we can be very, very cliquish, even amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Them little West Bay children don't want to hang out with the Georgetowners. The Georgetowners don't want to hang out with this one and that one. And, talk to me this morning. Let's have open dialogue about this, because I can't help but wonder, we have these expectations of other people, but how easy do we actually make it? I think I low key think some of these expats are scared of us as Caymanians. Yeah? How many of you ever invited an expat over for Sunday dinner? Mm-hmm. You know, they want to go on about turtle, but how many of you have ever said to them, come and try a plate of turtle before you make any assertions about what you think about it or whether you like it or don't like it? I'm just saying. I'm just a little bit curious as to how many of us have gone out of our way to try to, what on earth is that noise? Hold on, something was buzzing here. Yeah, how many of us have gone out of our way to say, let's extend the olive branch? Samantha says, amen, Johan. John LaRue says it's all due to McKeeva Bush. So I heard Johan's comments about, other people played a role. Listen, I'm not saying that they didn't get one or two applications approved. What I know for a fact, because I was really in the trenches in politics back in those days, like I said, one of the founding members of PPM, Honey Child, what I do know for a fact is McKeeva orchestrated the whole thing from the removal of Kurt Tibbetts back in the day, because that's how it all got started. Someone corrected me in there. They're actually very, very right about something, because I said the PPM was formed after the status grants. In fact, the PPM started to be formed as a result of what McKeeva did to Kurt Tibbetts. So by removing the Georgetown, number one politician at that time, he kind of kicked off in UDP and all the foolishness that they were going on with. He kind of kicked off this whole thing with, the PPM then being formed. He gave away the status grants because he wanted to try to maintain power long term and so on and so forth. For all the good that man has done. And I hear Johan, I acknowledge that no one could be in politics for 40 years, I suppose, without doing some good. But I think that he has also equally, I would give him a 50-50 track record. Probably 50% good, maybe even 40% good, and 60% horrific. And especially in the last 15 years of his tenure before he was voted out. But he couldn't have done it alone. There were other cabinet members who sat there with him and did it. They submitted their names and they allowed it to happen. So there's no two ways about it. And they gave all the excuses in the world about, what the UK was saying to them and this and that. And it's all bogus, if you ask me. So don't rewrite history. I don't believe that the progressives would have been able to get very many because they were on the outside. And one thing about McKeeva, if you don't know anything else about him, if you're not with him, you're automatically against him. That's his mentality. That is how he thinks. And this was the heyday, folks, of the UDP. Not for nothing, but when we were talking about what's his name? Canova Watson the other day, someone was reminding me of all of the players in the UDP back in those days. Some of them now legit hiding out, right? And trying to pretend like, oh yeah, they're not got nothing to do with that. But they were deep in the trenches, and they were what allowed this man to rise to additional political power under the umbrella of the UDP. And they were a very, very powerful political organization. And when the Prime Minister of Jamaica arrived yesterday, this kicked off a conversation with somebody else because they were reminiscing. Someone said, "Oh my God, what is Canova going to do if he go back?" This person said, "Child, please, he'll be just fine in Jamaica." Because they're like, "Oh, don't you know that I can't remember what his name is now. What's the name of that one guy? He owned that building there in town, something financial, something right close to, that'd be what, Shedden Road? Delroy Howell, right? He was a big one back in the day. Where is Delroy these days? I understand he's back in Jamaica, living his best possible life. And this person said to me, Canova could be fine because him and Delroy still BFFs and all this kind of thing. So they're going to be A-okay. And I was like, really? That's interesting. Okay. And then, a lot of these guys, they were part of that UDP clan. Not for nothing, but most of the people in the UDP, don't have the best reputation for being honest and upstanding individuals. That political organization was all about lining their own pockets, and very little good came out of it. They really fell apart because there was no cohesiveness even within the group. Bunch of backstabbers. So the world of politics is definitely intertwined in a lot of these things, and a lot of decisions that are ultimately made. And so, this is some of the realities of what's happening in our country. Tartarian says the English are also minority. 35% are British. 65% is mostly India and the rest of the world. Gabby says so many hate for Jamaica and such hateful mindset. Gabby Ice, I think you're missing the point here. This has nothing to do with hate for Jamaicans. This is about, you've got to look at the numbers of what, again, going back to that ESO report, when you look at the numbers show that the largest population after Caymanians would then be Jamaicans, 50-50, right? So 50% of your population is made up by another nationality. How do they not play in the conversations that you're having? Nobody not hating nobody, right? You can't deny that Jamaicans are an integral part of this community, and integral meaning the good, the bad, and maybe sometimes the indifferent, but they are part and parcel of the problems that we have here. And, you can't help but say that that's a fact just based on the sheer numbers alone. So there's no need for you to get up in your feelings. This is the truth that we are dealing with. And so, 50% of our population are Jamaicans. Jamaicans will tell you themselves. They know, the ones who live in Cayman and who are well aware of the dynamics here, they know that the no good ones are contributing in a negative way to this country. That is nothing unusual, right? Look at the court list. Who is making up the bulk of people who are in court, who are in jails? Yes, you've got Caymanians, but a lot of those people include Jamaican nationals who now have status, who are clogging up the court system. I'm just saying, these are the facts. And the facts should not be an insult to you if you are willing to be honest and objective about it. Now, here's the irony of it. On the one hand, we're talking about integration, but most of us, when we talk about integration of other communities or sub-communities in Cayman Islands, for the most part, we're not talking about Jamaicans, On that conversation, we're not really talking about Jamaicans because we've integrated, fairly okay with Jamaicans. A lot of us have Jamaican family. We have at least one, perhaps grandparent or one parent that might be from Jamaica. We've integrated the foods. So, when my mother-in-law comes here, she's like, oh, you guys eat a lot of Jamaican foods. And I'm like, yes. At one point they administered the Cayman Islands for the UK government. So there's lots of integration already built in there. And I would be willing to bet that 9 out of 10 Caymanians, if you ask them the question about who's the problem when it comes to integrating into the Cayman Islands when they come here, they're not talking about Jamaicans. They're talking about the British, the Filipinos, the Americans, the Canadians, Indian nationals. They're talking about everybody else but Jamaicans. So really that flies in the face, I think, of this argument that you have, I think you have, where you're trying to say that, oh, hold on a second, Caymanians are discriminating or hateful towards Jamaicans. Not at all. They are our brothers and sisters. They are our cousins. And we tend to have a much closer relationship with most of them because they understand us as Caribbean people as well, right? We share a lot of commonality when it comes to music. Caymanians are more likely to adopt a Jamaican way of life and lifestyle than probably any other nationality. Caymanians are the ones who are out in these streets trying to be Jamaicans, coming with the Jamaican accent, et cetera, et cetera. So this has nothing to do with hate. This is about truth telling. And, I haven't seen you on here before, Gabby. So maybe you're a little bit late to the show and you don't quite understand the discourse and the discussion here. This is a long-term discussion and no one is here hating on Jamaicans. And in fact, I'm not here hating on anybody really. We're trying to understand how can we get to a better place in this community. So again, are there any expats out there who will take me up on this challenge and tell me how is it that you can integrate more in this society, and what is it that you need from us to be able to do so? Because we got to meet you, I don't know, 20% of the way, halfway. I'm not really sure, but I think it's fair to say that a lot of Caymanians can be very, what's the word that I'm looking for? I think it's fair to say that sometimes we can also be very insular. Maybe that's the correct word, right? Where we don't make it easy for people to integrate. People are low-key afraid of Caymanians. 9362626. Tell me what you think. Any truth to that? Are you sitting here going, Sandy? No, sir. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I see it even, even in my circle of friends. I'm not out here looking for new friends. I mean, sorry, but at my age, I'm like, I don't care. I don't need any new friends. I'm not as willing to go put myself out there and be like, oh yeah, come on over for dinner. I have done it in the past, I think, to be fair. There have been times when, we invite, let me put it this way. I think my husband is probably a little bit more social than I am in this day and age. So when we do have, some Christmas dinners and stuff, if someone shows up that I've never seen before, it's more likely to be him than me that probably invited them. Having said that, though, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit because in the last couple of Christmases, I have actually invited expats to come over and partake of our Christmas, dinner tradition. So, yeah, I think I'm not giving myself enough credit here this morning. I just thought of 2 families that I actually invited over. And as a result of me, sort of extending the olive branch, then it was like, okay, well, can we do play dates with your daughter? They were less afraid of approaching me than about other interactions. Good morning, caller.
Well, good morning. Good morning.
I was hoping that you were gonna be some English person here to tell me how they can integrate a little bit more. But anyhow, take it away, honey child.
But I can be any nationality like me.
Oh Lord.
Go on, take it back. Go on. But you did not know that.
Oh my goodness, you guys are killing me. Give it to me.
Yeah, like we say, go on.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I misunderstood you or not. And I really didn't call that wasn't going to be my first thing. But since you said that, you were hoping it was another nationality that was going to call in.
Yeah, I mean, I put a question out there, and I honestly want to. Yeah, I put a question out there, and I want to hear what their perspective is on this. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right. Not from Africans, but I can turn the question around, and I can answer it. The reason that we are faced with the problem that, or if they think they have a problem, let's just say what the problem is. Once upon a time, and this is where Cayman got the brand. That was our brand, our seal, that we were such warm, friendly people. But unfortunately, when Others started coming in, planting fence posts, getting their boots stuck in the ground, and the numbers started to increase. You know what they say? There is strength in numbers. They didn't need to integrate with us anymore. They were getting more of their own kind. And as you can see, that has now multiplied by 1 million. And that may be an understatement. So that's why everybody now got their own little corner. And really the hope is that they could push all of us Caymanians out, because really and truly, we are an obstacle in their way in our country. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to share something with you and your listeners here. That it was said many, many moons ago. This was a foreign national from the UK. And said, oh, by the way, I have a joke for you. Okay? And here's what the joke was. Okay? Oh, you know, Cayman is such a beautiful place. Cayman, the beach is so nice. If you could get rid of the Jamaicans and the Caymanians. Okay? So, my boss was there also. I'm non-Caymanian. So I stood there and well, you know, none of my teeth are showing, right? I just stared. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure what to say, because I know if I said what needed to be said, I was going to need to find a new job. So, well, actually, my boss realized that I've got to say something here. And then, you know, oh, lighten up. It was just a joke. I said, really? It tickled me and helped me laugh. And I said, excuse me, I have work to do. So let me get to that. So I say that to say this, because it felt then, and I'm talking about over 25 years ago. And they still feel like that until today. So if they felt like that then, think how they feel now that the numbers have increased. And they're just not permit holders now. A lot of them got status. So that is what that problem is. Now, I'm not saying that Caymanians must stop being friendly, being warm, and so on. That's who we are by nature. That's not going to change. But what I would say is, as carpenters would say, do not force a square peg in a round hole. It's never going to fit. So what I suggest, since everybody got their little corner, we keep ours and protect ours. That's all I would say.
All right.
But anyway, what I wanted to ask you was, did you happen to get a picture of my girl who was on the island yesterday?
I don't know who your girl is, but I don't.
Kamala Harris.
She was here?
Yes, she attended to Heart Service.
Oh, really?
Yes, but she asked me not to tell you.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I did not even know that. So that's definitely news to me.
Well, you know, she would have done it very low key and, you know, on the high security and stuff.
Yeah. No, normally they don't go under the radar. You know, we still get to know that they're here, but good for her.
I was thinking that you would have said it this morning. So when I didn't hear you say it, I said, well, I wonder if Sandra knew that, you know. Well, I will not divulge any more of her business. The government does know, and you know, if they say something, if they have pictures with her and want to share them, then, you know, I'm sure they.
Okay.
But, and as you know, Andrew Holness came in with the Jamaican delegate. They attended.
Yes.
Because it was wishes that he wanted to be buried at sunrise.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much.
That was my little bit of gossip for the day.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All righty. Okay.
So there was a big funeral, obviously, yesterday. And we did post about the Jamaican delegation that came in. But look at that. Pamela Harris was also here. Very, very interesting indeed. All right. Honey chow. Thanks, Miss Brenda. Miss Brenda giving us a bit of the tea. Tartarian says responding to Gabby, Jamaicans hate their own people. That's why they can't live in Jamaica with their own people. Love your people so you don't have to take other people's crap. Gabby responds and says, why you sound so hateful? What have you done for your country positively for the many neglected youths? Until you show the nation what positively you've done, then your sentiments is valid. I think you meant to say invalid, but Gabby, let me recommend to you, seems like you're new here and you probably don't have a good lay of the land. I don't even know if you've ever been to Cayman, if you've lived in the Cayman Islands, but perhaps it would be in your best interest to learn a little bit more about the relationship between Caymanians and Jamaicans before you kind of get into that conversation a little too deep. Like I said, we have very, very close ties to Jamaica. We're kind of like cousins, and cousins and even siblings often will fight with each other. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no love there, but there is a unique and different relationship with Jamaicans versus any other expats here in this country. All right. Vision 2021 says, I'm an expat and I love turtle. And, it's not even, the eating of the turtle is one example. Listen, I know Caymanians, multi-generational Caymanians born and bred who don't eat turtle, but that's just one example about, I guess, one of the things that's traditionally, that's our national dish that is traditionally seen as, but you can love turtle and still not love Caymanians or the Cayman Islands for that matter. So it's more about integration. But again, I'm curious to know what an expat thinks. And, like I said, maybe they're scared to call in, about the integration. Like, why don't they integrate? Johan makes a point here where he says that too many are not scared or respectful enough. Mm-hmm. Right. Anthony says that they're expat-centric social circles. And this is what I'm talking about. I think that these social circles do exist. And so when they go and sit down at a bar and they're having drinks, like this isn't back in the day when you had, what was that one bar called? Remember, oh my God, I'm visualizing it. Kurt Tibbetts used to hang out there all the time. What was that bar called? Now, when they expanded the road, it would have been like right in the middle of the road. So they've since gotten rid of it. Somebody help me here. Oh, Lord, that was like a local watering hole. So everybody went there to drink, right? Caymanians and a lot of expats alike. And Lord, somebody got to help me with the name. I can't remember. This is like a senior moment. Midlife crisis moment, I guess. Dirty Weeds. There we go, Karen. Yes. Dirty Weeds. That's right. So back in the day, a lot of people, there was a mixing and I find like sometimes that level of, even hanging out at the watering hole, the bars, having a little drink, that doesn't really happen anymore like it used to. Dirty Weeds. Remember Dirty Weeds? Wow. What a throwback moment. Where was Red Rabbit? I don't even know where Red Rabbit is. Gabby says, Sandra, my job is important. I save lives. I help the youth and the elderly. Okay. Self-praise is no recommendation, honey chow. That's fine. I don't know what your job is, but that's fine. But you still don't seem to understand what's happening in Cayman. That's all I'm saying. You can be an expert in saving lives and saving youth, but if you don't understand the Cayman context, I'm not really sure how you have interjected yourself so widely in this conversation this morning. as though your opinion is like the end all and be all of it. That's all I'm saying. Honey Chan, you don't understand the lay of the land. So, I think you might be interpreting some comments as hateful when in fact that is not the case. So simmer down, honey Chia, just relax. Sometimes you learn more by speaking less. El Ray says, I don't think we can make people who come to Cayman integrate with us, but we should have measures in place for them to respect us and our culture. And if they don't, then there should be consequences. Well, true respect, listen to what I'm about to tell you now, El Ray. True respect is something that, in my humble opinion, you get when people genuinely respect you. It's not forced. So I don't know that you can force respect. You can certainly force compliance, but can you force respect? I don't know. Johan again this morning. You're on a roll today.
No, I just trying to read that comment again about the person who says that they like turtle.
They said they're an expat. They like turtle.
Okay. That right there is a prime example of the level of idiocy that we got going on in this country. Just because you like turtle don't mean that you like Caymanians. Okay? Again, the fact that they can extrapolate one thing and turn it into the entire basis of their significance or contribution to Cayman is the problem. Sometimes it's best to just hush, listen to the wider message and understand the Caymanian perspective instead of getting all up in your feelings about, I like turtles, so therefore I know really blah. Like, come on. That's exactly what's wrong.
Okay, but Johan, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Hold on a second now. Hold on. You're the one who made the mention of the turtle, right? So this is someone who has, yes, but hold on. This person obviously has a limited understanding of, I think, this conversation, just like Gabby does, right?
Therefore, they should hush and listen. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, hush. But
in an effort to integrate or to feel like, oh, I want to be closer to Caymanians, what that person said this morning is, oh, I'm an expat and I like turtles too. So why can't you meet them halfway and say, huh?
Okay, thank you for liking turtles. Thank you. You happy now? You feel full of Caymanian now? You feel you deserve status now because you like
Lord
turtles?
have
Really?
mercy. The person said nothing about those status. Now look at where you going.
No. But Sandy, the point that I'm making is everybody comes here and they don't listen to the wider message.
I understand that, Johan, but what I'm saying is maybe we are also doing ourselves an injustice when we, like somebody says, oh, I like turtle too. Instead of saying, okay, let me introduce you to other Caymanian things. Why don't you come and sit down and play some dominoes with us and hang out and, whatever. Instead of us kind of maybe seeing that as a commonality where we can then invite them in a little bit, we go on the defense. Like what the F do you mean you like turtle? What, you want status now or what?
No.
Well, what's the problem?
I'm not going on the defense. I've just been around long enough to understand how the game goes. Sandy, somebody like you are a very welcoming person. You invite all types to your house and you feed them good things, bad things, dry up brownies, whatever it is, right? Like you are very accommodating. But not everybody that comes to your house really and truly means you well. It's a phase that they go through because they need to tick a box.
Well, listen here. I have Caymanians coming to my house who didn't mean me well either.
Yeah, but at least
humble. Some of the biggest haters were my own people, my own Caymanians.
I'm one of your biggest haters too, to be honest with you.
And so, when they came to my house, I took that friendship as genuine. And then later on, I found out that they're more jealous than a bag of, I don't know why. But so, I'm just saying, like, maybe we judge people on how we find them on an individual basis.
No, fair comment. But at the same time, all I'll say is try to understand the people before you come to the conclusion that you know the people. And just because you partake in a native dish doesn't mean that you understand the ethos, the history, the culture, and the Caymanian way of life. Because there's many people that when they had nothing, they had Caymanian friends. But now that they got it, they don't know Caymanian friends in their Rolodex. I promise you that much. Okay?
All right. By the way, I've been eating all the brownies since Monday, since you never came. Okay.
Keep your dry up brownies. You're not gonna fool me no more.
All right. Thanks very much. KY Forever says, Gabby, please lay off us Caymanians because we have to tolerate y'all Jamaicans enough as it is. Oh my God. Come and sit down and smoke some weed, says Strong Will. Nope, we're not recommending you smoke anything. And KY Forever says, I'm a Caymanian. I don't like turtle, but I understand where he's coming from. Cayman, Maryland says, G's and peace. G's and peace. Yes, good morning, Galler.
Good morning.
Hello, Miss Lucille, joining us all the way from the UK.
You criticized me this morning, so I can't spell.
What's going on?
I should say
Who's
food.
telling you that?
Come and read it. I said, I'm not coming to your house for no food. I had it in mind.
Yeah.
But you tell the whole world that you don't want nobody at your yard. So I will stay in West Bay and I'll find a Caymanian house to go eat. So where you say good, I mean food. So don't go spell it this morning and say you can't spell. And when you make people criticizing that you say can't spell.
Lord have mercy.
You all take care at home. I love you all down.
All right, Miss Lucy. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
Oh, we have someone who is reaching out. Their wallet and documents were found. Oh, yes. I'll send you the information, Mr. Samuel. All right. Okay. What a hot mess we in this morning. All right. Still, look like no Caymanians willing, no expats willing to step up to the plate. They scared. They're sitting there biting their nails. One person says, what's most insulting is I have Caymanian friends, as if. And we know that doesn't, we know. All right. The real Michelle says mutual respect creates harmony and harmony breeds integration. Let's move on. We do have to talk about a couple other things, right? So in the mix of all of this is, we're trying to find job opportunities for Caymanians. And we have an upward tick, by the way, in the job numbers. The economy actually doing pretty well. So based on my data analysis, some key information here is we had 6.6% growth to nearly 65,000 workers, which highlights a booming employment industry outpacing the prior year's gains by 0.5% from the fall of 2024. So again, this is going back to the labor force survey. And this is the fall 2025 labor force survey, right? So it revealed that there was a robust job market, slight rises in unemployment amid strong growth. And key stats include an employed labor force of 63,289 out of a total labor force of 64,984. And that was up again from 6.6% from the previous survey. Overall, unemployment is at 2.6%. So it went up slightly from last year's 2.4%. The key indicator here, though, is that the Caymanian unemployment rate improved slightly from 4.1% down from 4.6%. So that's really about 1,700 persons who are unemployed. It's those 1,700 persons that we need to put a lot of resources and efforts in to see why is it that those individuals are actually unemployed. And some of that, I'm going to say this, and I know some of you will feel a way about this comment that I'm about to make, but some of that is honestly as a result of their own poor decisions, of their own behavior, why they are unemployed. Yeah. So 1,700 Caymanians. I mean, I would have really liked to see additional details on who those persons are. And, is that what percentage, male, female, who they are, what Caymanians are unemployed. And in fact, I need a little lip moisturizer this morning, so I'm putting on my Vaseline. And in fact, how, because we kind of have to know who they are before we can decide how we're going to help them get into the employment market, if that's where they want to be. I mean, I suppose that there's always going to be a portion of your population that doesn't really want to work. I mentioned yesterday that this young man, one of the guys involved in a jewelry robbery, was actually offered employment working as a laborer for a local company, local Caymanian owned company, I should tell you as well. And evidently he thought that that was too much work for only $10 an hour. And his mama told him, yes, honey Jill, his mama told him that he don't need to work for no $10 an hour. He should be making more than that. I don't know what make his mama qualified to tell him anything, to be quite frank and honest. But anywho, she most certainly did. By the way, I meant to post this, but I didn't. Maybe I'll get around to posting it today. But I think this is them. Hold on one second. Let me just double check something here. Yeah. The court's office has, the judge, I should say, not the court's office, but the judge has put a restriction in place, as I recall, reporting restriction where we can't name these guys involved in the robbery. Is that them? Let me just look at this again. Because I was at a loss when I saw it, trying to figure out why. I was like, huh? Why is there a reporting restriction? We can't name them. Well, first of all, they were already named, so a little late to be coming forward with that. But on what grounds could they not be named? It was a little bit bizarre. Yeah. Very, very strange. All right, let me, I'm going to double check this because I saw it come across in the courts and I was like, well, that's weird. Why can't we name them? Boy, these lawyers be working overtime to protect these criminals, not for nothing. But yeah, there you have it. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can let me see if I can I'm gonna look at that because I meant to kind of have a look at that because I'm not quite sure how that makes any sense. So reporting restrictions, I think this is 3 of them, yes? Reporting restrictions pursuant to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is them. Is this them? No. This can't be them. You know what? This is a different McLean. This can't be them. This is somebody else. What case is this then? I'm going to have to double check. This one's a little bit bizarre. Okay, that's not them. I think the last name, when I saw the last name being McLean, I was like, well, wasn't that other one McLean too? No, this is something different. I'm going to check into this. Sometimes it's weird why they put reporting restrictions in place. It's just that the lawyers be arguing all kind of foolishness. Someone says it's so good to get down in the data. It tells a story. It does. Yeah. All right. So let me just see. Right. Okay. So no one seems to be accepting my challenge. I'm still trying to give you expats a little minute to think about it. Nope. Y'all can just stay in your little bubble. Okay. Well, there you go. Morning, Miss Faith and Hope. Lady D says, kaboom, Sandy. Some of our own bites as well. And it all stems from jealousy, child. You know, they say that what is that saying about a king gets no recognition in his own land or something like that? So yeah, some of the most hateful, ridiculous people are in fact our own Caymanian people. Boy, they begrudge you all kind of stuff that ain't, wow. They be out here trying to make your life challenging and difficult. I was reminiscing yesterday, in fact, with the CMR team, that back in the day, I had a business idea that had to be licensed by SEMA. And boy, did they put me through the ringer. So much so that at the end of it, I just got frustrated and walk away. I was like, what the hell? But I guess time is, maybe the time wasn't right, because if I really wanted it, I would have stayed and fought for it. But people have a way of just dissuading you. Like these regulatory agencies, sometimes it's like, oh my God, they will frustrate you to no ends by the process. And you have to wonder, is this process applied like this to every single person? But, try not to take it personal, child. Just go through the steps and do what you need to do. But yeah, some of your own Caymanians be trying to put stumbling blocks in your way, and they're not there cheering for you. They're silently praying for your demise. Strong Will says, I'm a Caymanian, but most of my friends are Jamaicans. Good morning, Aliano. Let's be quite frank here. By and large, Caymanians have been extremely accommodating and welcoming to, and this is why this term Caymankind has this double-edged kind of feeling. We have been very, very accommodating and welcoming to people, and we don't always get the same reciprocation. And it's not everyone, it's some, but the some make everyone look bad, if you know what I mean. We have an expat who's willing to call. All right. We found our golden expat. Let's see here. Anthony says unemployed or unemployable. 1,700 sounds equal to NAU stats. And I think, Anthony, that there's a combination in there of unemployable for different reasons and unemployed. But this is my thing. When we see these numbers, right? 4.1% down from 4.6% being Caymanians that are unemployed. The thing that I will say is we have to take some of the blame for why those individuals are unemployed. So any parent, and this just shows the ignorance of a parent, that can say to a child, don't go out there. You have no skills. Yeah? No skills whatsoever. Don't go out there and take a job for $10 an hour. Keep in mind now, that was when minimum wage was $6 an hour. Don't go out there and take a job for $10 an hour, although you've actually not done anything to upskill yourself or anything of the sort. You can somehow be making, I don't know what his mama thought he should be making. You're doing your child a major disservice. And to me, that is a sad indictment on us. That's a level of ignorance, quite frankly, that is disheartening to see within our own. And so, his position was, it's easier for me to go out there and to sell drugs. So he sat down and did the math. Oh, okay. So that means that I'm going to be making XYZ for the day or the week. I can make more out here selling drugs. And it's just like, huh? What? What logic is that? Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Well, and yourself?
Good. So you're going to weigh in on how easy is it to integrate into Cayman?
Sure.
Like Caymanians.
Yeah, I actually found it really easy. I think it all depends on the approach that you take and recognizing that as an expat, if you're coming into a country, that you have to come in with respect and openness to learn about their culture and the culture of the country you're entering. And if you remain respectful and courteous, then, I came in and was trying to do that. And I found everyone to give the same respect and culture appreciation to where I came from, and made some amazing Caymanian friends, made some amazing expat friends, and kind of didn't look at anything other than everyone being super friendly and super nice and just making some amazing friends regardless of their nationalities.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that the Caymanians that you met, and I suppose the question then becomes, what kind of integration did you have with Caymanians? I mean, were you going to have a drink with them? Were you, hanging out at their place? Like, what did that interaction look like?
Yeah, listen, like any building of relationships, right? It starts in the setting that you put yourself out to. So, between the kids being in school and meeting the parents, and then play dates, and then getting invited to their homes, and then coming to our homes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very natural integration. There was let's go have a drink, let's have dinner, let's have a play date.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of scenarios. It was real. I mean, genuinely, I found it really easy, and everyone was warm and welcoming, and had no issues.
Yeah.
Like I had a ton of fun. I got to meet such a diverse, and even Caymanians across the board. They've had their own experiences with their travels and their ability to, expand their openness over time. So, personally, I love Cayman because it's 90 plus different nationalities, and people are coming from all over the world with their own approaches. And the fact that you get to discuss them openly and appreciate people's differences and still be, break bread with them, and then have a drink and have a great relationship with their kids and the next generation, and it's like everyone just being really respectful of each other. I think that's just like the core of it. But yeah, it was like I've had a ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Well, thank you so much for that. That's appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, my dear.
Thanks for the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we got at least one person weighing in, and her experience is, was pretty easy. And I think that, the comment really that you get, what I heard is you kind of get what you put in as well, right? So you've got to, like she said, you've got to reach out to people. And I think that that's on both sides of the equation. So interesting. Anybody else? Any other expat wants to weigh in and how they have found it, like what their experience has been? I'm genuinely curious. Raymond, good morning. Raymond Barnes in the house this morning says, sorry for going back. I actually heard if you don't eat turtle, you can't call yourself Caymanian. Just like if you don't eat soja crab fat, you can't call yourself a Braca. Just what I heard, don't kill the messenger. And I think, again, to be fair to that individual vision, I think that's kind of what they were hearing as well. So I think Johan kind of got a little bit on the defensive there, and there was really no need to do so because, people, the thing about it is a lot of times people are trying to sometimes find common ground with us, but if we're pushing them away and we're making it difficult for them to find common ground, then, okay then. Live Happy says his mother's attitude and the attitude like similar to that drives up the cost of building a home. Attitude is a powerful thing. Yeah, boy, he was like, oh, he can stay, boy, I can stay home, make more money, selling drugs. And I said, yeah, and you can also now be in Northward, honey chill, for robbing places. And we gonna be sitting here paying for that. By the way, speaking of the robbers, so a lot of people are like, who were these guys? Were they Caymanians? Blah, 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 blah. So there's one of them. I don't know the first two, kind of what their exact, probably one Jamaican parent, one Caymanian parent. I don't know how their mix up is, but the one that's like a bona fide Caymanian, he was the one who was actually on the plane trying to go to Jamaica. I was like, where's he going? I guess he's got some friends or somebody over there. Maybe that's where he's getting his drugs from. And so he was trying to run over there like that can save him. I'm like, he's so stupid. You know, some of our people don't got no sense, right? I said, yeah. He would be extradited so fast. The second he landed at Kingston Airport, they'd be returning him. He don't even know. All right, here's a quick commercial break, and then we're going to take some comments, and then we're going to switch to talk about airport security and the changes that are coming.
Dream of shaping young minds and making a lasting impact through education? Join UCCI's School of Teacher Education. To learn more about our new and existing programs, design need to prepare the educators of tomorrow. Explore pathways in early childhood education, associate degree in primary education, bachelor's degree in primary education, postgraduate certificate in primary education. Whether you're starting your journey or advancing your qualifications, this open house is a great opportunity to connect with faculty, ask questions, and discover the right path for you. Come out this evening from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Cascade Room at UCCI to learn more about this program. We look forward to welcoming future educators ready to inspire the next generation.
All right, folks. So UCCI is having a Future Teachers Open House event this evening from 6 until 7:30 p.m. If you ever thought of yourself as potentially being a teacher and you want to explore those opportunities, go on out because they're going to tell you more about the UCCI School of Teacher Education. So they're launching the Future Teacher Program in the fall of 2026, and it's a new initiative designed to inspire and support the educators of tomorrow. So everything from early childhood, associate degrees in primary education, bachelor's degrees in primary education, postgraduate certificate in primary education. These programs will provide clear pathways for anyone ready to begin their journey into teaching. So go on out, explore the options for you this evening at the Cascade Room at the main UCCI campus there in Georgetown. Okay, here's another comment that came in. Good morning. That mother is crazy. Like I said yesterday, my son is Caymanian, 1 semester away from getting his associates, started a job at $9 an hour. And I explained he has to start somewhere. We need to stop with the Caymanian entitlement mentality. I really want to know how much he's supposed to be making. I know, right? He probably don't even have any passes in school, but anyway, unqualified and no real experience. I know of the individual involved, and none of them have any experience or qualifications that would have them making more than $10 an hour. One of those guys, the oldest one of the bunch, has been in and out of prison. For selling drugs. There you go, honey child. Mellow fellow, good morning. I'm glancing through the LFS report that you're speaking about in table 17A, page 35, gives a breakdown of the unemployed persons in terms of age, sex, status, and education. Oh, thank you so much, mellow fellow. I need to go back then to have a look. I didn't get to all of it, so thank you so much for that. I will, page 35. Let me just have a quick glance. I will do more. Oh, yes. Table 17, active search related to education, active job search. Okay. Very, very good. This is good information. Yeah. So we need to dig a little bit deeper into that table. So here's what they said. 4.4 note says unemployed labor force numbered 1,700. Let me just put this little screen up here for you. Give me 1 second, honey child. Oops. Right. Okay. All right. So this is the table. And these are the notes. It says unemployed labor force numbered 1,700, yielding an unemployment rate of 2.6%. See table 17A. By age group, youth unemployment, ages 15 to 24, is the highest, at 13.7%. Okay, stick a pin. Now that is absolutely no surprise whatsoever. So when it comes to, and again, this is where I tell you that these labor force surveys, this information is critical, because I'm sure now the government has already been putting, the education minister and so on, has already been putting their mind to that age of 15 to 24. What more can be done with those individuals who make up a large portion of the unemployment statistics, 13.7%? You know, what can we do for them? That age is a bit tricky, because for most people, that's they're not yet matured. We see the minister, for example, talking about a kid should not be coming out of school maybe at 15, 16 years old. We need to push them to stay in until they're a little bit more mature at the age of 18. So even changing the age of graduation of these programs could significantly impact that unemployment, right? So at that stage, maybe they're still looking to do internships and so forth, as opposed to out in the real world as a 16-year-old trying to find a job. If you have no skills, that's a tough one. And then regarding sex, females have a higher unemployment rate at 2.8% than males, which is at 2.5%. Again, that's pretty interesting. Consequently, women make up more than half of the total unemployment population. Wow. Now, what I would like to know, the second I hear that, is I now think about how many of these women that are unemployed, 51.6%, are also unemployed parents. Like, how many of those women have children? Because we got to start looking at things that impact their employability, right? And we know employers will shy away from, you know, if you're a 20-year-old and you already got 3 kids, they're like, when's number 4 coming? You know? So there's so many things that I am very, very curious about now that I hear that. And then additionally, Caymanians have the highest unemployment rate at 4.1%, accounting for 61.5% of unemployed persons. So, wow. So a lot to unpack there. I'm going to have a further thought about that, but I think that, in fact, thank you, Mellow Fellow, for pointing that out. But I think that, yeah, that adds a lot more food for me to even think about. I'm not done with the report. It's like 212 pages. Slowly making my way. Andrew says the caller makes a good point about schools being a good place to integrate. More mixed schools may help. Real Michelle says, that's right, caller. Love is the key element. With mutual respect for each other makes living together harmoniously a breeze. It's not rocket science. Ms. Sue says there's good and bad in every nationality. Raymond says, hey, it's okay if you nyam soldier fat. I'm not judging. Who said that they eat it? Oh, that was Carrie. Says, I never ate soldier crab and I'm a Braca, full bred. She's just saying he's not judging. Judgment-free zone here, folks. Judgment-free zone. Lady D says there's also Caymanians in prominent positions. When they see other Caymanian applications applying for jobs, simply sends an email saying that they were not successful, not even invited for an interview. That's true. And sometimes what it is, Lady D, it can be a couple things going on. They're just following the instructions of their expat bosses. You know, so when you look at some of these law firms, they have a mandate of who to hire and who not to hire. And so the HR managers, although the HR managers are Caymanian, they don't have the kind of power that you think that they have all the time. Mm-hmm. Marshall says, so his mother doesn't want him to work for $10 an hour. She'd rather he go and steal. And now he's going to prison. Make it make sense. It don't make one bit of sense whatsoever. Dean says, them old people would say, don't come here with your N-word ways. You'll be all right. She'd rather him work at HMP rate, $15 a week for labor, $25 a week for vocational training / work. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, that's table 17. Hold on. Which table was I showing? That was table 7. Yeah, that was table 17. Yeah, that was table 17. 17A. Oh, my apologies. So table 17A has the breakdown of age group and educational attainment. So once again, absolutely no surprises here that most of the unemployed are in that high school. They only have high school education. That's so not surprising. So of course, when we talk about the pathways to job opportunities, over 1,000 of those persons of the 1,700 have a high school education. So they make up for 62.5%. That's the distribution. And then post-secondary, 198, college/university, 323. That is the group that I think we need to look at to really see what's going on there. Because those are, in some way or another, semi-qualified individuals. You've got a college and university degree, probably a little bit older. Not necessarily, because kids are here going off to university, but you know what I mean. So what is happening with those 323 persons? Like, you know, they need to pick that apart and really see why university educated Caymanians are not able to get employment. Now, not for nothing, but this group of non-Caymanians, 526, that don't have a job, who are those people? And what are they doing here? If you're a non-Caymanian, and that's not PR, because they have PR separately from that. If you are a non-Caymanian and you don't have a job in Cayman, why would you be in Cayman? What's your status? Like, I'm confused about who those persons are. I want to know more about who they are. What are you doing here? Because that's an easy fix. 500 and something people contributing to our unemployment numbers as a non-Caymanian. If you don't have a job in Cayman, then you shouldn't be here. Simple. Pretty simple to me. Real Michelle says scarier is the 55 to 64 age group. Let me see how many of those there were. 229. We had 865 plus, because Michelle's point is being women, homeless, and over 50 worldwide is a real issue. And, you know, I mean, I don't know, again, we don't know if those are people who had previous employment and then they retired. Were they never employed? Were they, you know, they've had sporadic employment? There's so many additional questions, obviously, that I would, want to know a little bit more about. John LaRue says, we're paper Caymanians over 30 years here. My kids have a degree and work at a very prestigious finance firm. Caymanians there are useless at her age, hired because they have to hire them. That includes your daughter? I mean, your daughter's a Caymanian now, so I'm just saying. Are you saying that your daughter's useless and they only hired her because she was a Caymanian? Or you mean the non-paper Caymanians? I need a little bit more there. Now, what do you mean by useless? A prestigious finance firm. So you're saying that, okay, they went to university, they got a degree, maybe they got their CPA, I don't know, and they come back, and because they have no experience, you're classifying them as useless? I need a little bit further explanation to kind of understand what it is that you're saying. Because obviously everybody's useless, I feel like, when they first enter the workforce, but you still give them an opportunity to come in and to get the relevant experience, right? Do you not? Okay. Clarify yourself, honey child, because I would most certainly like to understand exactly where it is that you're coming from. All right, some more comments trickling in. Let's spend some time talking about, somebody says, well, that comment's a bit harsh. Someone else says, how can you be here without a job as a non-Caymanian? How many of the females are unwed mothers? Yeah, do have a lot of questions. All right, so let me see here. Some more comments. I don't want to miss. I'll be trying to check multiple phones here when you guys are sending in your comments. Most of you just send it to my personal number, which is fine. Let me see. Okay. All right, Shaka says, doesn't the law provide for individuals of certain means to be legally residing in the islands without the need for occupying local jobs? Could that not account for the majority of the 500 plus? I don't think so. I mean, it's a good question, and maybe this is an opportunity for me to get some clarification from the ESO office, because they have the PR people separately. So this is why I don't think that that's actually correct, because the PR people would be the ones who have PR with independent means, or, you know, they're not intended to make up the workforce. So we see those numbers there. But if someone is not ever intended to have a job, so they're PR holders, you know, with rights without the need to have a work permit, I don't know why they'd be included in the unemployment rate either, or the unemployment data. So I kind of don't think so, but we can ask the ESO office for clarification, Shaka, on that point. Okay. It's so good to get down in the data. It tells a story. Sounds upper middle class. Who sounds upper middle class? Everyone listening to your show. Some are also studying. Could it be that more girls are studying? And then they go on to say married to Caymanian. That's harsh, John. So let me be clear. I also don't think that students, if they're like in a program and they're studying, that they would be considered unemployed, because their job, for all effective purposes, is the job of being a student. So I don't think, again, the definition of unemployed would include individuals who are actively a student. But this is why I would love to have the ESO people on here, because they could in real time answer these questions for us. This person says, good morning. I believe Caymanians didn't like Jamaicans growing up in Cayman. Nothing good was said about a Jamaican. They used to call them all sorts of derogatory names. Caymanians have a hateful history, and the Cayman kind only applies to certain people. This is coming from a Caymanian. Interesting. But I have to wonder, even those derogatory names and stuff, do you not hear them calling themselves that as well? I'm just saying, you know. All right. One quick update. Yesterday, I don't think I posted this one yet, but yesterday after the show, remember we were trying to ascertain what actually happened at the prison. The government did finally issue, that ministry did finally issue a very light statement in terms of what transpired. At least it was a statement. It was certainly better than what we were getting before, which was radio silence. So I'm happy to report that, and I'll post this up on social. I meant to do it last night, but child, I was so busy, and I was trying to get to bed before midnight. So they did acknowledge that there was an incident. They said that several persons or injuries to 2 prisoners, and that the prison officers responded in accordance with established security and medical protocols. And then they claimed that the matter has been referred to the police, which as of yesterday morning, the police had basically said that they didn't have anything referred to them. So hopefully now they took their time referring it to the police. But I just wanted to let you guys know that they did send this out right after yesterday's show. So now we know that something went down. We have official confirmation. Security at the airport. A lot of you had some comments to make around this story, and I thought it was very, very interesting, which is that essentially now when you go through the airport, your vehicle is going to be inspected. Vehicle inspections will begin curbside on May the 20th. I don't know why I thought they were already doing this, but anyway, I mean, let's have a read of the article to see exactly what we're talking about here. Okay, so the article here indicates that effective May 20th, which is next week, that's in a few days. What day is that? Is that the 22nd? I think it's Friday, right? So that would be Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday next week. So in literally less than a week. If you go to the airport curbside now, there's going to be some additional inspections of vehicles being carried out. So it says that vehicles are may be subject to visual inspection by trained CIAA security officers as part of the new safety and security protocols by the CIAA, and this is their announcement. The new protocols align with the aviation requirements for overseas territories established by Air Safety Support International in accordance with recommendations from the International Civil Aviation Authority, or organization rather. Inspections may include full vehicle checks, including interior and storage areas. Storage areas, like you're going to go in the trunk? You're going to lift up where the wheel is? What? And they work closely with the Royal Cayman Islands Police if necessary. And then Albert Anderson said that the new security protocols represent an important step in strengthening their overall security, blah, 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 blah. So a member of the audience are advised to ensure that there's no prohibited items present in their vehicles when traveling to the airport. Weapons, flammable items, and explosive. What is a flammable item? I mean, I don't know what that means exactly. Explosives is obvious, but lots of things can be flammable. So here is what I know about this situation. This is in fact a long time in the works, because the remember when they had briefly stopped the curbside, where you couldn't do curbside drop off and pick up anymore, and everybody was up in arms about that. We were like, WTH, you can't do this. Give us back our curbside. My understanding is the compromise, in order for the CIAA board to be able to allow curbside to return, and this now is coming by way of the UK through the governor's office. And again, if I'm saying something incorrect, feel free to correct me. But my understanding is the sort of compromise then was that this was always going to be the case, that you could be subject to, if you're going to do curbside, because of how the Cayman Islands airport is designed, and we're trying to follow the International Civil Aviation Organization, their recommendations when it comes to airport security, that if you're going to do curbside drop off and pick up, then you have to subject yourself to having your vehicle and or your person, probably eventually it's going to get there, be checked. And so that was the compromise, and the Civil Aviation Board at the time agreed to that. And it looks like now, several years later, because that was several years ago, they're now just getting to the point where they are going to implement it. So this is what this is about. And I guess the big lesson here, folks, is in life, there are compromises, and you have to be willing to compromise if you want to keep certain rights. You don't have to like it. God knows there's a lot that we don't like. You don't have to like it, but nonetheless, this is what it is. So would you rather not have curbside drop off and pick up at all? And then where do you go? Because they say that you have the option of not participating by going to the short-term parking lot. But unfortunately, most of the time, that parking lot is actually full. And it does say that any vehicle entering the short-term parking lot can take advantage of free parking for the first 5 minutes. Might I make a suggestion. Well, most of the time that parking lot is full anyway, so this might not really be here nor there. But 5 minutes of free parking at the airport? Child, please. Could we do like 15 minutes, Mr. Albert and your team? I think that would be more realistic. I've never been to the airport really, and in 5 minutes being able to pick somebody up. Sometimes you can time it, you know? So I'm trying to think, the last airport pickup I did was over a month ago. Yeah, when my mother-in-law came, she came out pretty quickly because she has nothing to declare. She's not bringing anything. And it was like a mid-morning flight, early afternoon, late morning. So that Jamaica flight, yeah, but even that, customs CBC digging people up, whether they have anything to declare or not. So you can't always gauge how long they're going to be in there. But of course, we don't have the space around the airport even to say that, people can pull off and there's like a waiting area. Short-term parking, sometimes they have to use that overflow from long-term parking. So a lot of times that's full. So I don't know. I guess this is one of these things that you'll just have to take it and work with it as best you can. Anthony says EV vehicles is considered a flammable item. Oh my God, that is so funny. Lady D says no matter how much experience one has starting a new job, they have to learn the company structure and processes. No one can be labeled as useless. Some are more accommodating to their own. Real Michelle says this is an invasion of privacy. Only the person traveling should be subject to such intrusions. Ridiculous search and seize powers are something to be wary of, I think. Well, is it not the same anywhere else in the world? I mean, I don't think the US has time at most of their international airports, but I do believe that their airport security have the power to do so. That's their property. So they could, and I guess at times when they have a high alert situation going on, they could actually search your vehicles and stuff as well. So I'm not so sure that this is unusual. I think what might be unusual is to actually have it done. Because most of the time they're just like, keep it moving, pick up your people, get the hell out of here. So they don't really have time to be searching you, but it does not mean that they don't have the power to do it. Those are two very, very different things. Ms. Brenda says, is the person the only one that will be subjected, or will the driver also be subjected to this as well? So again, it states that the vehicle, let me just read what it said again. Vehicles entering the curbside area may be subject to visual inspection by trained CIAA security officers. So the inspection can include the vehicle, the interior, and storage areas. It doesn't actually, though, say the person, like your physical person. It's more like the vehicle that you're in. So I don't think that means that they're actually searching you per se, but obviously you're showing up in a vehicle. So anything inside the vehicle, anything on top of the vehicle, anything under the vehicle, anything in the boot of the vehicle, the trunk, the frunk, whatever, is possible to be searched. Child, those CIA people look like they barely want to work. I don't know if they're going to be doing all that now. When they see the boss coming, they'll pretend like they're checking something. Even the little guys at the booth, they'd be like, yeah, go through. John says Big Brother's coming for us. Sounds like a lighter version of ICE. Oh, God, no. Miss Brenda said, also, if you don't stop, like driving through, will you be stopped and searched? Well, how are you going to drive through? Oh, you mean like, okay, you go in and you drive by slowly to see if your person's there and you don't see them and you keep going? Well, no, once you're in there, once you're in the vicinity of curbside, I'm assuming you open yourself up to the potential of being searched. Romelia says, is this a tactic to have the public utilize the short-term parking to make money? Once again, short-term parking, a lot of times isn't even available. It's full. So I don't know. I think they do have to increase that time that you, if it isn't full, the time that you could go and wait there, though. I think now this falls under Minister Jay, right? I think he's going to be coming on the program next week, but I don't think this is really a money-making thing because, quite frankly, you don't have to. My light fell down. You don't have to go there at all until your person's out. So you could wait until they tell you that you're out, but that doesn't prevent you from being searched. So there are two very different things going on here. They're saying, listen, if you don't want to be searched at all, then you don't go in, right? Now, how you do that is up to you. Like you could, in theory, say to the person, because think about how you come into the airport, right? For you to come into the airport, it's like one directional once you've come down that one road. It's one way, right? Unless you go into one of the parking lots. So you can go into long-term parking, which is on the left. You can go to short-term parking, which is on the right. Or you can also go into that parking lot there where, is that, oh man, what's the name of that? Andy's car rental. He's in there, right? So you could go there. And I'm sure Andy's doesn't want y'all coming in their parking lot. And then I don't know if you go there, if you can exit anywhere else. I'm trying to think now. There has to be a back exit to Andy's because both lanes coming in are one way. So once you come that direction, there's no way to turn around and go back that direction, right? So you either go long-term, short-term, Andy's, or through the security checkpoint. Once you go through the security checkpoint, what they're saying to you is you are subject to a search. Now, theoretically, let me work this out in my head. Since they are saying that you can utilize short-term parking for 5 minutes without paying, I suspect what they're telling you is it's possible for you to pick people up even further down and you basically drive through. You're not staying even for the 5 minutes, but you're driving through the short-term parking to come out on the other side, which is normally where you'd be dropping people off to leave, and you could pick someone up by the drop-off point. But that really doesn't make any sense. And then you could, as long as you can complete that within a 5-minute window, then you are good to go. I don't know. I want to sit down in my seat now, but Zeus is in the chair. Lord have mercy. This dog is so chill. He is here living his best relaxed life. Sir, can I get my chair back? Hold on. I'm going to see if I can evict him from my chair. He's like, look, don't be waking me up for no foolishness. So yeah, I mean, okay. Well, we'll see how it plays out in real time. I mean, telling us that they have a right to do something and actually doing it, I suppose, are also two very, very different things, right? So I don't know how many people are really going to be. They claim that these are specialist trained now. Oy. Sorry, Zeusy. They claim that they're specialist trained people at CIA, security officers. We'll see about that. Exactly what they're going to be telling us, or, I don't know. We're going to have to wait a minute. Hi, good morning, sir. How are you? We're going to have to wait a minute to see how all this plays out, honey chill. Right, sir? We're going to have to wait and see. Wait and see what's going on. All right. Where's the article to read this, Sandy, on Cayman Mall Road? Don't you follow the channel, Miss Sue? Let me move this down just a toops. There we go. Yay. Yay. Hi. I gotta take you to the groomers. You're looking a little bit rough. Right? He's like, yeah, I'll send it to you, but it's on our website. How will they determine who could and should be searched? It's random, Lady D. It's random. I don't know if they're going to have a formula like 1 every 10 cars or just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Only God knows. They don't need any grounds. And I think just like airport searches, some people have, the other day I was searched in was it Cayman? I can't remember now. I think it was here that I was searched. And it has literally been, somebody said, oh, it's 1 every so many people. But I can tell you, I have not been searched. Where they can pull you, when you're leaving, they can randomly pull you aside? Years. So much so that I couldn't even remember the last time that I was pulled into that room. No clue. It's been forever. When I went on my holiday, funny enough, I got pulled down. Ecuador, they be checking quite a few people leaving. This is when we were leaving Galapagos. So this was inter-island travel, inter-country travel, I should say. And so leaving the Galapagos, one of my pieces got pulled for random searching, and there's quite a few other people on the flight. And so, we all went in there, and boy, their process is a little bit different. We had to walk a long ways down a lift and around the corner and up the hill and, all kind of ways to get to where the security were. And then literally right outside the door, you could see them, you could see where they were loading stuff up on the planes and stuff like that. So yeah, I ain't got nothing to hide. So I was like, okay, whatever. So they went through my little suitcase full of clothes. Right, Zushi? Oh my goodness, you're getting so fat. You are getting so fat. Look at you. Look, that's you. That's you, cutie pie. Aw. Aw. You're so sweet. One of the interesting things though about Ecuador is they have a lot of protocols for you to be able to go into the Galapagos. So they actually search your suitcase. They have rules about what you can take and what you can't take. And then they search your suitcase going in. And once they search it and they okay it to be able to go in, they physically lock it with a tie twist and you cannot open it or add anything to it. And it's all about protecting the environment. Mm-hmm. Right, Zeus? We got to do better with the environment. Don't you think so? Hello. Hi. Sleepyhead. Don't you think we need to do more to protect the environment? Yes, Mama. Yes, we do. Ms. Brenda says this doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, not even Russia or Cuba or the UK. So how is this international? I don't know about that. Like I said, I think they all have the rights to do it, but whether they actually have the time and desire to do it is probably another thing. But no, again, the option that they gave, this was the compromise when they were trying to prevent curbside pickup. And they say it's because of how our airport is designed. If we want to continue to have curbside, then that's what our people agreed to do. So the previous boards a couple of years ago said, yes, we will agree to, that's when they put up, remember, that's when they put up the little security booth, because that didn't used to be there. And so this was part of the agreement. So I think the minister can probably explain the history of it a little bit better, but good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra Lee. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm still between fine and excellent.
Ah, that's wonderful. What's on your mind today?
No, just wondering that all that I've been listening to, what is the hurry to destroy the best place in the world, Cayman Island, the best place in the world? What is the hurry?
What is the hurry? Destroy it. Tell me a bit more about what you're saying.
We seem to look at the negative things in Cayman compared to world standards. All of the other countries with their crime-ridden situations and all of their not being awful, being poverty stricken and everything else. And people that come here, including Caymanians as well, I think we should be much, much more grateful. Can anyone name another place in the world that you can be so relaxed and be at ease with yourself if you want to than the Cayman Islands? I have traveled a bit of the world in the merchant marines. And then it was much better, the world, than it is now. And if we are such a problematic island, why? Why in Jesus' name that people are not just coming here for a visit, but they're coming to reside here. They want to live here. What is the reason for that? You know, it is a good place. I mean, I know we got our problems and so on, but at the end of the day, my God, you know, where you going to go, and especially if you own your little, what old people call a cotacool, a little house or something, where are you going to go that you're going to be more peaceful than the Cayman Islands? You know, we should certainly be more appreciative for what we have. And when it comes to the thing about working, I am the first one to agree that you got some Caymanians never work and they never will. But that's again in other countries that is much more of a bigger volume of, let's say, idlers than what you got in the Cayman Islands. I'm not going to say everything here is, you know, is butter and bread. No. But what's really taking advantage of people is this. They get carried away by the neon lights and all of the fancy things in the Cayman Islands. Sandra, I'm going to go, but you know what? I think people better get hold to themselves a little bit and decide if you got a little small piece of property, small back garden or something, put some topsoil under your fingernails and start to plant, do something. Don't just expect that you're going to complain about the prices in the grocery stores and what have you. Do something to help yourself. I mean, I see that I'm growing a few lemon trees now, which I tried for so long, and finally they're coming along. That is so encouraging to see what nature has to offer us, you know. And another thing I want to say about all of the tearing down of the vegetation, Sandra. Oh my God, what a national disgrace that we have, and nobody in authority has the interest or the balls to say, look, no, you got your money, but this is the Cayman Islands. Things has to be reserved not just for the younger people, but the island as a whole. You tear down all the vegetation, and you talk, oh well, today it's 90 degrees, but it feels like 100 and something. Yeah, you leave it there. You stay in your little air condition, see what can happen. You look at your vegetation. Look at your vegetation that is bawling, begging for mercy. Oh my God, your rainfall is so diminishing. Look at your cattle out in the fields and your horses. I mean, this is out of control. Everything, Sandra, is about the almighty dollar. Thank you so much for listening to me.
All right, my darling.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, some very interesting comments. 936-2626 is el número de teléfono. Interesting indeed. Quite a few people were put off by John LaRue's comment. They said that most people, when they first start a job, are considered useless, and that they're not necessarily, doing like billable hours. And I think everybody understands that there is certainly a degree of training that is part and parcel of any job. I mean, that's why you kind of have to start at the bottom, right? So you start with your little, even in law firms, people be starting at the bottom, doing the files, I remember when I was at Maples, I was a law school student. But when I was in law school, I actually, part of it is because of my irregular schedule and stuff like that. I was doing like library work, and it was useful because I spent that time when I was changing out and updating the leaflets in the library booklets. I could then read some of those cases, and of course, they were very, very interesting to learn how in the real world, like certain things work. But in addition to that, I would help out like at reception. I already had a degree, so my situation was a little bit different. I wasn't unqualified, but in that environment, might be some people who would be like, well, what is she really doing? Well, I'm helping out at reception, answering the phone. I was more than qualified to do that. I mean, I got hired as a senior secretary or whatever the titles were back in the day. But because I was a student, my schedule was a little bit different, and they just put me in like filler positions, nothing too stressful. So I wouldn't go quite as far, John LaRue, saying that every single graduate that's come in there is useless. I think they're coming in there with hopes of trying to learn the ropes, get into position. No doubt there'll be some degree of on-the-job training, and then, they would take it from there. Real Michelle says, I think security should focus on making sure that the planes don't blow up rather than checking vehicles that will not be on the plane or near it. Well, in theory, Real Michelle, airport security extends beyond just planes blowing up. I mean, you could actually blow up the airport itself, right? And given the proximity of the curbside pickup at the airport, it's not unheard of that, if you have a big enough explosive, you could, with one car or even two cars working in tandem, you could literally go and blow up the entire airport if you wanted to. Not just the planes. And that would still be, if you blew up the airport, that's still probably a couple hundred people right there that were probably trying to get on a flight or work there and so forth. So Cayman is in a sweet spot, says Anthony. One of our sister countries, Turks and Caicos, has an unemployment rate of about 8%, with a population nearly half of Grand Cayman. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Lady D, this is something to really rethink, especially when you have persons that will be taking your lunch hour to pick up or drop off friends or family. Again, I think logistically, I think you guys might be overthinking this. This is just my opinion, right? They're not going to do a search of your vehicle that's going to take half an hour. That's not what this is. This is just kind of like, maybe they'll have one of those little things. Like, I don't know what tools they'll be using, but maybe they'll have the little thing that's like scanning for bombs or whatever. And they're kind of walk around that. Maybe they'll have dogs. We don't really see dogs. Where's all our security dogs? We don't see dogs at the airport anymore. CBC doesn't seem to even use dogs. Police, I know, had dogs. Well, they killed one, poor thing. I don't know how many more they still have. But, sometimes you see them walk around with dogs. When I went to Tampa, the last time I went to Tampa last month, they were, when you come in at the airport, they had the dog there sniffing around. Actually, where I got pulled down that I haven't been pulled down in years? Man, this trip I got pulled down all over the place. When I came back from, I think because we had a food bag in our hand or something. But when we came back from Ecuador in Miami International, we got pulled in to have our bags and stuff checked as well. And I have not been pulled in there. And oh my God, forever. But they wanted to know, like, are you bringing in any foods or, because again, there's certain things that they're keen to protect. Good morning, caller.
You're going to have to pay me because, you don't get this from me very often, right?
I don't know, Miss Brenda. It's becoming a good habit now. So
I was just to say, making good trouble.
Yeah.
But since you spoke about Ecuador, I can understand coming from Ecuador or any of those countries because they have, like fruit and stuff there that are prohibited to be brought in. Many countries, not just the U.S. So usually like that, that's what they're searching for. That's a whole different kettle of fish. You are already inside. You have left the clean. You're coming in now to customs area. They can search you. They don't have to have a reason to search you. But this curbside pick up and drop off search, I have to say, maybe I'm misunderstanding the whole thing. And that might be the reason I think and feel the way I do. But as I said in my comment, I've never seen this happen anywhere in the world. And I have traveled quite a bit. And like, for example, in Russia, you cannot pull up next to the building where you are dropped off. It's quite a distance off. But they have people out there that, if you need assistance with your luggage, because they're, you say yes and they take your luggage, of course you got to pay them, and they'll take it, like almost across the street kind of thing. So they'll take it into the building and, up to the counter and stuff, right? And that's Russia. Cuba, which is still communist, there's no curbside searching and stuff there, person or car. And it's never happened to me. I could name many, many countries, but I picked out those three. So again, I say, if this is international, how come we've never seen it happen anywhere else? How come we've not experienced it anywhere else? And I do believe that most of your listeners have traveled to places outside of Miami and Jamaica. And let's take Miami, for example. Whether you pull up there in a taxi, Uber, or a private car, I've never witnessed anybody being searched. Now, the police, the airport police are out there. Obviously, if there's something going on, now you see them go and figure out what that is and so on. I witnessed that just recently. But again, it wasn't just because the car pulled up there and they stopped the car and decided to search the persons, or the car. Also, the person that is traveling is the person with the luggage. So it leads me now to say, well, if you're already doing random searches in the airport, I was told it's every 10 pieces of luggage. That's the random piece. That's when you hear your name called. So if you're going to be doing random searches out there, are you going to continue to do the random searches inside? And is that same person going to be the random person, or are you going to select someone else? I think they should make it one or the other, because anybody that is traveling that checks in luggage, whether they know it or not, their luggage is searched. It is scanned, it is searched. You take on a carry-on, that has to go through security, so that too is searched. Okay? Scan, search. So I just think it's a bit of an overkill, and maybe they should have, done it a little bit different or better. And if they didn't want people coming to do curbside, drop off, and pick up, then they shouldn't have provided that in the first place. Do it that you got to drop them off put a place up in the parking lot then, and that's where you get dropped off, and you struggle with your luggage to get it to the airport, or have the porters out there to assist you with the luggage, because all I see this doing is creating havoc. That's all.
Well, I guess we'll have to see how it plays out in real terms. But they shouldn't be doing it in a way that, one search is going to take 45 minutes per vehicle or anything like that. I think it's more about just a cursory look and check, which, like I said, all airports have the right to do. I think really the concerns that the UK had, why they were trying to eliminate curbside pickup, is because of how our airport is designed, because curbside is literally very close to. So do we get rid of curbside? Would people be happier with that option?
Well, then they could have curbed that, by designing the airport different. That would have been the way to resolve that. Okay? That's the first thing. Because quite frankly, I don't like that airport. First of all, it don't fit in with an island. Even if they felt they needed to expand the airport, they leave it in a style that blends in with an island. We are an island. We are not a European city. We are not New York. So it should have blended in. And that's my take on it. I don't like it, full stop. But I'm saying, I don't remember how long ago this new airport has been put there. I do remember once upon a time.
But they didn't change with the airport. They didn't change anything when they upgraded it the other day. Nothing was changed in relation to curbside.
I mean from what it was.
Oh, okay.
The one with all the mahogany and stuff. From that to this. That's what I'm talking about. So I don't like the airport, full stop. I don't like the whole design and so on. What it looks like to me really is the airports in some of those European cities. And but anyway, I think one architect had a good idea and they sold it to some of the Caribbean islands because our airport is very similar to the airport that the Bahamas has now and to Jamaica's airport. Okay? So I think it was the same designer. As usual, you know, people get an idea and they say, oh yeah, cash cow, we can go there. But that might not be the case. That's besides my point. I don't like it, full stop. But I remember hearing this a long time ago about not doing the curbside pick up and drop off. And that was for the purpose of, as you say, security for the building. They didn't want cars and stuff that close to the building. That I can understand and I would accept. But I do not think that we should still have the curbside pick up and drop off next to the airport. And now you're going to intercept that. You're not just searching a traveler, you're searching the driver of the car. So if the driver of the car is not traveling, why should they be subjected to a search? I can see the traveler and their luggage being subjected to a search. In other words, they leave the car, you take them to an area, you search them. The driver should be able to leave. The driver's not driving into the airport and driving out to the plane. That driver might be on their way to work. And as one of your persons said, it could be on their lunch hour. So I think they need to iron the kinks out a little bit more. I see this causing a lot of disgruntled people, including myself, okay? And then it makes me think about people who need a wheelchair right out there by the curb. So what happens with them? And we already know that wheelchair passengers are red flags everywhere. They need to think this out a little bit more before they actually implement it. So, anyway, I don't know if I'm going to more 50 cents worth for you today because now you owe me. But I just want to touch on something that one of the previous callers said, talking about cutting down the vegetation and stuff here. Now, that is an international law. Just like Florida, you can't destroy their mangroves because once upon a time, they didn't know the value of them either. But once they learned what the value of them is, you can't cut them down. Just you lived in Florida, Sandra, just like the black oak, right? Anywhere you build, you have to have the black oak trees. So that's a lesson, whether international or not, that I would like to see Cayman adapt. Stop destroying our mangroves. Stop destroying everything that is Caymanian. All of our mahogany trees, all of our birch trees, all of the calabash trees. They belong here. They were put here for a reason. Anything that was anywhere was put there for a reason. And when you remove it, then you will soon understand why it was there. We don't need to have a concrete jungle here which we already do, so it's a little bit late for that. But we could have continued to be very successful in what we were and what made us successful, which was the most precious commodity we have, the Caymanian people. That's what the tourists always came for, that, and it was 7 miles, what we used to have. I don't know how much is left, but that's 7 miles each. That is what the people came back for. Those people don't come back for. First of all, the place is overbuilt, the place is overpopulated, the traffic is a nightmare. They have just now chosen other destinations. And I hear this everywhere I go. And that's me. So I don't understand why administration after administration hasn't figured this out. I really don't know. And then add to that now, when the cruise ships come in, I mean, that affects us, the Caymanians that live here. You imagine the tourists that have only come for a week. No, they need to start thinking differently. I'm sorry. And we don't have 90,000 people here. We had that a long time ago. We got over 100,000 people here. Give us the proper figures. Just like how they say we didn't have cost of living increase, when we always had it and still having it. There are more than 90,000 people here. Look around. And if you doubt me, take the time and check how many cars we have registered here. That should give you a good idea. And that some people don't even have a car. Okay? All right. So, and I charge you for that.
Yeah.
And
that one was on the house.
That's on the house.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, folks. So like I said, I do believe the minister is coming on next week. I'm waiting on them to confirm. But he's going to be here for his Ministry Matters segment. So if he comes, we can certainly put some of these questions to him. Perhaps we could ask if Mr. Anderson, who is head of the CIAA, let me send the message right now, come onto the program. Let me see what I can do. Anthony, you know we're tenacious around here, so we'll keep at it. So I've just sent them a little message here. Someone says lack of long-term planning on our part. They need to provide a covered, maybe with solar panels, walkway if they want to use a short-term parking for drop-off and need to provide working meters and arms to allow for better flow of short-term. The whole design and aesthetics of the new airport is just wrong. So that person agrees with Ms. Brenda there. Not even trained aviation officers, just the average beat officer, usually Jamaican, looking over time pay for the airport, which, by the way, Anthony, I did not legitimately know that those officers that you see at the airport, they are there on their day off, although they're in uniform. I thought that was part of their duties, rotation, whatever. But no, they're actually there on their day off. And yeah, apparently they just get overtime. You're right. That's extra time and stuff for them. So I had no clue about that. That was news to me. Just recently I found that out because I was like, oh, that's not part of their regular police duty. They said, no, they can pick up those additional assignments to make extra money from the CIAA instead of the RCIPS. Rhea Michelle says, what kind of thorough search takes 5 minutes? I say just a rule is a nonsense. Only those who travel should be subjected to the invasion. But that doesn't make any sense because not just travelers are a potential risk. Anybody who is curbside, that's the whole point. Anyone who's curbside presents a risk. Why people, says Anthony, don't stop talking about the airport, don't blend in with an island. Airport is a matter of national security. Real Michelle says it's not about safety, people. It's about surveillance. Blissful Powell says, give Miss Brenda kaboom. The airport doesn't fit our environment. It designs, actually. Facts. You know, speaking of airports, the Ecuadorian airport was actually quite a nice airport. It was really nice inside. Looks like it's a fairly new airport. One of the interesting things that they had, even in the customs area and like when you go collect your luggage, they had columns. Like they have big columns that I guess are part of the support beams of the airport. But those columns had the like the wraparound visual screens, and that's how they were doing their advertising. And Marlon, for whatever reason, quite liked the columns. Actually, he's like, I prefer that to seeing like the billboards on the walls or the panels on the walls or whatever. He was quite impressed with the usage of the existing support columns to then do like messages and ads and so on. So I haven't talked a whole lot about my Ecuador trip yet. We will get there. But yeah, the airport was it was quite a nice airport. I was pretty impressed with it. So I got lots of pictures, of course, as usual. Trying to see if I can find one of my airport photos. The hotel. Oh my God. Jeez, somebody's scaring Zeus. Hi. Zeus? What's going on? Hey, hello. Somebody on the outside. Shh. Okay. Somebody's at the door. Let me tell you what's going on. Let me check the cameras, Zeus. Let me see what's going on. Somebody's out there that doesn't normally. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, okay. Let me see what's going on. I soon tell you. Somebody's making noise out there. That's just Miss Stacy cleaning, Zeus. That's just Miss Stacy. Calm down. No, it's nobody else. It's just Miss Stacy. Okay, honey child. Calm down now. Lord have mercy. Yes, sir. Guard dog, you know. Let me see here. Oh, I gotta have me some more mangoes today. Right after the show, I'm gonna go eat some mangoes. Renita says the aesthetics of the new airport is a significant disappointment. The previous design, particularly the inclusion of the viewing deck, felt deeply connected to our local culture and heritage. It is disheartening to see Caymanian architectural identity sidelined in favor of a generic modernism that feels disconnected from our roots. But yeah, I think a lot of people were just disappointed to see the viewing gallery gone. But the airport doesn't have much space for people to just park and go and sit in the viewing gallery and have a nice time. But it was that restaurant that used to be up there. Like, yeah, those things were, listen, they come with memories. And I do believe that was part of our identity. What did they do with that thing when they took it down? The A-frame thing. They should have put that somewhere and done something else with it. Anthony says that Florida has a long and ongoing history of significant environmental issues regarding mangrove destruction that's not unique to Cayman. Renita says, as we face another hurricane season, the alarming rate of deforestation, tongue twister, across our island is a grave concern. We are trading our natural coastal protection and Cayman identity for rapid development, leaving us more vulnerable exactly when we need our natural defense. Same thing happens in Florida too. That's why all of Florida is sinking. The airport falls under the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Peanut. So getting Mr. Anderson on won't be hard. No, CIAA is actually Jay's ministry. I know you think it's connected because tourism, but it's not. Cayman Airways is the Minister of Tourism. CIAA is Plahi. Sometimes it's hard trying to remember who's where and what they do. No, France is later in the year, Miss Brenda. But what are you telling people where I'm going next anyway? You know I don't tell people where I'm going till I get back. Oh, I actually had a dream about traveling last night. That is so funny. I had a dream about traveling to Europe. Okay, let's look at a few more pictures. Look at the cute little llama. Aw, so cute. So we saw lots of llamas. I'm trying to find some airport pictures to show you guys. This was in the city. Let me kind of go towards the beginning of the trip. But yeah, the airport design was, it was modern though. It was a modern airport. These are some of the city tours. I'll see if I can find, we went to a church. Man, these churches are so opulent. Geez, peace. This one took like 80 years to build. All kind of gold and all kind of ridiculousness. Instead of helping poor people, they were building churches. Because once they got your mind controlled with religion, you're good to go. This was in the Andes, the Amazon. That was the river that we stayed at, the resort. I'll look for the airport pictures so I can show you guys. But yeah, it was a good trip. We did, we were in and out of the city quite a bit. Of course, Ecuador, Quito. We went to the place on the equator where it's like 0000 latitude, longitude. So there's another llama. Latitude 000, we were there. This was in the hotel. They had some very interesting, the hotel was really nice. This is the garden in the hotel. They had like a little bus that you could go in and sit down and eat. Marlon was hanging out in the bus. The altitude though in Quito, boy, made it a little bit challenging. Look at the food. So apparently Ecuadorians are known for their ceviche. I think that's their national dish. So they rave on and on about their ceviche. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be trying every bit of ceviche I could. So this was a shrimp ceviche. It was good. They don't really use a lot of spices. Like they add on spices. But I thought the food was good. Except for ceviche, I don't like, they did like the little small chips, like the little small banana chips like here. Whereas normally for ceviche, we'll use like the bigger scooping chips or whatever. They didn't really use those. And they love corn. So as an appetizer, they would do like a lot of like roasted corn, like little corn kennels, and then popcorn. So I was like, okay, this was a soup with some kind of pork, lo mein or something soup. There's another llama. Saw lots of llamas. Just chilling and hanging out. So, we did like a couple days in Quito, in the capital. Then we went down to the Galapagos. We were on a boat for 4 days. Then we went back to Quito. And then we went to the Amazon. So it was a good trip. It was very, very interesting. It was difficult to breathe. I'm not going to lie. The altitudes in Quito made it challenging to breathe. Like you felt some days like you couldn't really take a deep breath. But anyway, I'll talk more about it. Of course, Caymanians representing. Oh, yeah. This was our day tour. We do lots of walking. The one thing about traveling and going on vacation, you do a lot of walking. So I always feel like that's when I'm getting my steps in. Churches here. Like I said, the opulence of the churches was quite interesting. Can't find the airport pictures, but when I find, I'll go through and try and find some. I'll show you guys. But the airport was relatively modern. Oh, look, we got to see in the Galapagos the blue-footed boobies. This, let me see if I can find. This was the Galapagos. And there's, look at their little feet. They're literally blue. So we saw lots of blue-footed boobies. There's one right there. And lots of iguanas on this particular island as well. Some of the seals just lying on the rocks, crabs. There's another blue-footed booby. Caught a little partial rainbow. That's one of the iguanas there. These iguanas are I forget what these they have like a red thing in their throat. I forget what they're called. But there are lots of them as well. Trying to attract the opposite sex and stuff for mating. And some of them were protecting their nests and stuff as well. So there's some more seals. There was a mama seal and a baby seal there hanging out. There they are. Yeah. Basking in the sun. Snoozing. Okay. Well, we'll see if Mr. Anderson, like I said, can come on. I'm telling people anything. I obviously make a good guess. I think Anthony needs to stay focused in class. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's wrap it up there, I think. Okay. Somebody's messaging me about a release letter for immigration. The employer didn't want to get a release letter. Oh, someone is climbing Mount Kilimanjaro from July 3rd to the 13th to raise funds to the Cayman Islands Cancer Society. Oh, nice. Oh, boy, those climbs are tough. OMG. The altitude. No, sir. Good morning. I do believe the wood from the A-frame of the airport was used to make the building that is at the Queen's Botanical Gardens. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, yeah. Somebody else says they took the wood from the frame and repurposed that into benches at the Botanic Park. Oh. I see. Okay. I'm not so sure I knew that, but interesting. This person says, kaboom to Miss Brenda. I'm sure there was a recommendation, but not to this extreme by DFT. CIAA is looking away to monetize the situation by forcing people to the short-term parking lot. It will take 5 minutes to just park in there. Like I said, that they need to increase to probably 15 minutes free parking. People have to understand that the viewing deck had to go. It was a major security violation. Too many people were throwing things from the deck to incoming passengers, and the A-frame is still incorporated in the new design. It was retained and used and part of this design. Oh my gosh. Okay. Got to most of your comments today. Did you get to see where the indigenous Indians occupy? Yes. So we went to actually some of the indigenous people, and they were showing us different things, and we were able to spend money with them. Purchase, like we bought a it's like a thing made out of the, oh Lord, what's it made out of again? Anyway, I have some videos I'll show you guys at some point. But yes, we saw like ones that make like the little flute instruments and stuff. But we did tours with the indigenous people. So one was how they make wine still. They call it something else. Their alcohol, not wine, but their alcoholic beverage. How they, look at this little bird. Isn't he cute? how they actually how they ferment it and stuff. And so this was us on the boat, those little dinghy boats. Oh Lord, they were interesting. So this is the legend, the Galapagos legend that we were on for the 4 days that we were actually in the Galapagos. But yes, what are those little boats called? I mean, oh, they fermented, and they have things that are very, very similar to us. So they have they were talking about something, and then we realized that for us, that's the same calabash thing that we have. So they use that. They were talking about how they use that for different things. Ooh, honey child, I could go for some of this food here right now. Yummy. Yeah. So, oh yeah, this is one of the days that we were actually. These are the little instruments that they make. So that shell is made out of, what's this little thing? What is he called again? His back. But I think now they're not. So this is us listening to this lady and taking some lessons from her about how they make the instruments and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they always do these are the instruments on the wall, the different flutes. And then we could actually, help to support them in their native work and make little purchases from them and stuff as well. Now, oh yes, these are the wall tapestries showing how it's made. And then we could again, these are century-old traditions. We could again purchase these from them to kind of support them. So we went to the artesian markets and got to support the locals and, see them demonstrate how, yes, this form of doing things, how they get the colors in there and the whole 9 yards is very much still how they do it. So very beautiful landscapes and stuff. Now, we got out just in time because apparently when we were leaving, there was what do you call it? A strike starting. Mm-hmm. That's right. They were starting a strike because of the oil prices going up. The public bus drivers went on strike. Oh, this burger was so good. It was a black bun burger, but it was delicioso. OMG. So good. This is a salad. So yeah, so they were going on strike apparently. And so the government had put a curfew in place the last day or two that we were there. There was a curfew to kind of control the protesters. So we left just in the nick of time, looks like. Aw, look at little llama. Mm-hmm. So the weather was really nice while we were there, that we had pretty good weather. In the Amazon, it seems like it would rain kind of overnight. And then by morning, it would pretty much clear up. You didn't even need an alarm clock, child. The birds woke you up in the morning. All the birds chirping outside. So these are some of the little things that they make, the little dolls and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a good trip. Always interesting to see other places in the world and how they live and how we do that. And look, yeah, ran into people from Cayman. Remember Miss Marcia? She actually lives in Ecuador. She lives there. So we were able to meet up with her one of the days at the market. There's Miss Pat. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is some of the stuff that was for sale at the market and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. I got videos of my other camera I need to add and download here also. This is one of the days that we were at one of the restaurants. Oh, one of the most exciting things is we went to a bath hot springs place. Very, very nice. So that day I did a massage. Oh, so good. And then got into the nice natural hot springs. But the way that they have it set up, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm like, oh my God, I wish we had hot springs here like that. I would be in there every week. Mm-hmm. So this is the river. Way to get into those little river boats to cross over to this other segment now where we stayed. And this was another location that we stayed at. Yeah, these little boats is what we had to get into. And they even transport vehicles like across as well. This is a little dog chilling out at the gas station where we stop for a little water break and bathroom break. Like, see, this is where the boats and everything come in on this little small kind of barge. And that's how they get from like one side of the river to the other side. So this one, that day, a truck and a bus, the community bus was coming off. Mm-hmm. It was good fun. Oh, that evening I saw in the water at night. Let me see if I can find those. There were sharks hanging out. Oh man, look at how good that iguana photo is. I didn't enter the that's a really good shot. Does not look good as far as iguanas go. But this is a video actually. Look at him. One little baby, one ran by my foot, and you know I was screaming bloody murder. I was like, oh my God. Look at that. Having lunch. He was having lunch. But what was I gonna tell you? Oh yeah, at night we saw I forgot what this bird is called. Oh, anybody knows what this bird is? But yes, that's their throat like does that thing. Very interesting. But at night, one night I saw next to the boat when we were about to get ready for dinner, I did see there was a shark in the water and there were some seals and they were all swimming and having a good little time. Oh, this is a video of the blue-footed boobies. There they are. Yeah. I gotta make sure I'm not missing any pictures or anything from my collection. More birds. Lots of birds. But yeah, so I got some footage somewhere in here. So here's the indigenous lady, by the way. This was her showing us how they make and play certain instruments and stuff. So, yep. Musicians. I'll find the shark video because that was pretty cool. I took that one at night and the sharks were the shark was swimming. You could see him and the seals were in the water as well. And he obviously wasn't very hungry because it's not like he was trying to get to them or anything like that. So anyway, yeah, we'll talk more about it. Okay. Yeah, Miss Marcia used to work in island companies and she now lives in Ecuador. And apparently she's not the only Caymanian living there. There are other Caymanians. Frigate bird. Yes, the great frigate bird. That's right, Elby. A+ for you today. That's the frigate bird. That's right. So lots of footage. Yeah, I gotta find the one with let me see. I gotta find the one with the sharks and stuff frolicking in the water. Because I did get them, but I gotta make sure I've uploaded everything to my little file. Yep, but yeah, we've got a couple Caymanians who actually have retired there, who used to live in Cayman. Is that Miss Marcia? Yep, she used to work for island companies. No, that's not the red throat man of war. That's the frigate bird. Yep, that's the great frigate bird. So Miss Marcia is there. There's a lady who used to work at CUC, Sandra. She was in communication. She now has retired there as well. So anyway, all right. I will let you guys go because y'all need to get to work to pay your bills. And so do I. And we will catch up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm not so sure if we have any guests coming in yet. We may have some people come on for just a short period of time. And This person says, by the way, last comment on this topic, this person says the idea of the car searches is to thwart terrorists. Terrorists don't care between airplanes and airports as long as they cause panic and fear and media attention, etc. So yeah, I mean, airport security is overall airport security. It's not just for the travelers. Because the people who pose the risk may not be necessarily getting on the planes. They could be people in and around the airport. All right, my beautiful people. Sydney, good morning. I'm going to let you guys know the cost of living. Everything is always relative. I think things can cost less, but it depends. Because what they were telling us about housing and what you pay for housing, the natives there can't afford it. So that seems to be a consistent theme throughout all countries, is a lot of the people working there because the dollar, the American dollar is their official currency. We're going to talk about how that happened because that was totally interesting. But they're American, they use the American dollar. And, what you'd pay for like a 600, 900 square foot place, it's a lot of money. Like $200 something thousand or something. The bus drivers telling us, we were like, for that? Yeah. And so most of their people can't afford that either. Anyway, don't forget about this seminar this evening, this information session at UCCI.
Dream of shaping young minds and making a lasting impact through education? Join UCCI's School of Teacher Education to learn more about our new and existing programs designed to prepare the educators of tomorrow. Explore pathways in early childhood education, associate degree in primary education, bachelor's degree in primary education, postgraduate certificate in primary education. Whether you're starting your journey or advancing your qualifications, this open house is a great opportunity to connect with faculty, ask questions, and discover the right path for you. Come out this evening from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Cascade Room at UCCI to learn more about this program. We look forward to welcoming future educators ready to inspire the next generation.
All right, folks. And of course, don't forget that the ESO has 2 surveys that are happening right now. One is the labor force survey, which I'm sure we'll be discussing at some point next year, what the numbers are saying. So participate if they reach out to you.
The Economics and Statistics Office, ESO, is currently conducting the annual business surveys until June 12. The surveys collect information to answer questions like, how did the economy perform in 2025? In 2025, how much did foreign companies invest in the Cayman Islands? The surveys include all relevant entities that produce goods and services in the Cayman Islands. The surveys are confidential under the Statistics Act and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the ESO. Remember, better data, better decisions, better business. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 244-4676 or 244-4600.
All right, folks. So have a beautiful day. We'll catch up tomorrow. We'll continue the conversation. Same story, different country. My, I know. It's always the same that, like I said, a man in his own country is going to have struggles, and expats who have the income can afford to come in and do different things. It's just how the world works, folks. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of what we deal with here in Cayman is not unique to Cayman at all. See you guys tomorrow morning. Have a beautiful day. Be safe out there.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.